Hello folks, Brian Manzella to explain a term that I coined and popularized a few years ago that is I think a very accurate description of something that occurs in golf. You see it in instruction, you see golfers trying to do it, you see golfers doing it, and I don't think maybe it's the best course of action in a lot of respects, but be that as it may, some people could make it work some of the time. So, what is it? It's called force across the shaft. So you got this midpoint of grip, okay? If you push directly across this shaft at the midpoint of grip, you get this sort of movement of the club that's not really going around the clock very much. You're just sort of getting shoveled forward. That force across the shaft is how a lot of people, and shoot, at some point, I thought might be a good idea, you know, to get your hands forward and stuff like that, right? How you use it or whatever you want to do with it or whether you think it's good or not is for another discussion at another time. But there's no doubt that's force across the shaft. The action of the wrist, and I'm kind of using my right arm a little bit too, to create rotation about this coupling point that we call it. Got that from Dr. Aaron Zick, but you could also call it midpoint of hands. This rotation around the midpoint of hands, I call it the flick. You can call it the toss, or you can call it just rotation around the midpoint of hands. This movement, this movement, this movement. I wouldn't call that force across the shaft. There's just as much force going this way as there is that way, right? So here's the problem with misusing terms that have already been popularized. Happens a lot, apparently. When you're trying to explain to somebody that force across the shaft is bad, one of the things you're showing is that, one, the speed doesn't get to the club, and two, the hands don't decelerate when they're supposed to, because the hands are going someplace. So call this something else. Please don't take my term, force across the shaft, which everybody knows. Shoot, you can go up to a teacher who doesn't even like my stuff and they can tell you what force across the shaft is. They might even teach it. They're not going to do this. Some people would call this throwaway casting or something. But right, it's a way to create alpha rotation by torquing the club, which will slow down the midpoint of grip. But it is not force across, this is not force across the shaft. This is force across the shaft. I know I invented it.